Okay, we'll call this Park Advisory Committee to order here, February 18th, 2026. First thing we'll do is roll call. Randy's not here. Al? Here. John's here. Mindy? Here. Adam? Lee? Okay. um, Can I have approval for the agenda?
Should we look at rearranging a few of the items?
Yes.
Okay, so I would move the bike path discussion up based on, I think most of the group here is for that, and tennis, and what other? So should we move those items up to the top?
Yeah, so we'll move the trail update up to item number 6. And then, yeah, the other one shouldn't. Yeah. So we'll move tennis up to after that. All right, any other comments? Is there a second for that? All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Can I have a motion for approval of the minutes from February 18th?
Second.
Any discussion, comments? All in favor? All right, item number 5 is public comments. If you are here to talk on one of our items, please wait until that item comes up. But if you're not going to speak on one of the items and are just here in general, please feel free to come up to the podium. Okay. All right, with that, we'll move on to new item number 6, which is the Brandon Development Foundation Wetland Bank Trail. Tammy or Tim, you gonna come up? Okay. Just give us a little bit of background, please.
So this is an idea that the wetland bank idea was something brought to the Development Foundation a couple of years ago, probably. So we've been working with the city on just sort of developing it using the city property that's already been sort of designated as parkland. It was land that was donated, I guess, to the city a few years. I don't remember. How long ago has that been donated? 10 years ago? Okay. So it's already a city, basically, detention area that has to be maintained by the city. We were brought the idea of developing a wetland bank. We are currently about to acquire even more land to the north that would extend the wetland bank all the way north. And in doing the wetland bank, we said, well, if we're going to develop a wetland bank, then we can also develop the trail system or the park or whatever goes around it. Knowing that the park board doesn't necessarily get a lot of money to play with, and we happen to have a little. So
I was going to say, I know that we've been looking at a trail through that area for an extended amount of time before even the wetland bank was a concept. So.
Well, if I remember correctly, the whole point of that the land that was originally developed was to do a trail system around it. Yes.
Okay, thanks, Tim. And as far as public meetings and stuff you've had to date,
We've had one.
You had one? Okay. All right.
Yeah. Do you have maps
Yes.
available?
We have maps as part of our agenda.
I don't need to see it. I know what it looks like. I'd like to say in 20 years of doing city stuff, first time I've ever been to Parks Board. How about that?
Well, you're rolling pretty low now. Okay.
Do you have any questions for me?
No, I know there's 2 options.
Yep.
Kind of conceptual trail options as part of our, and so I'm assuming you're just looking for feedback from us. Or what's I guess ultimately, and I don't know, Tammy, if you have feedback, any intro that you want to give us?
So we just offered to build it. Like we really didn't offer to design it necessarily. I mean, we certainly can as part of doing the wetland bank. the engineering firm we work with can certainly develop a trail system. Like, all we need is some guidance, basically.
So
Mhm.
you're looking at feedback on the options from
Mhm.
us. Okay.
So,
Tammy, do you have any setup you want to do or
yeah, so
background?
just to point out a few items. So the one trail system is almost, we call it a trail system, but every time we have some kind of a detention pond, you know, we have to have what we call a maintenance bench, right? We have to be able to access it, we have to be able to do maintenance, we have to be able to get back there with equipment. So not last summer, a couple summers ago, we put in a sewer main that runs along that east side, kind of back around Bethany Meadows area. We call it the East Side Sewer Project. And we did put a maintenance bench in with that. And so most of that is in there, which can be dual purpose with the maintenance for the new wetland bank, but it can also be a dual purpose for a trail system. So what we don't want to happen is for us to put in these maintenance benches and then put in a trail system right next to it. So it's very nice that the Development Foundation will come in and kind of just, you know, brainstorm with you guys on where we want it and what we can do with it, how wide we need it, some of those standards. Another thing to point out is that it's always been part of the plan to kind of go up and behind those cul-de-sacs. That was in the development plans before anything was platted or built out there. There are lots out there that already have a shared use easement because it does get pretty steep there. And so there is access through there to put that in. That was planned with the developer, and that was put in and talked about during the school actually buying that property back there, because that would be more of the safe routes to school area. I know that trail has been kind of put in a comprehensive plan previously. It is taken out of our current comprehensive plan just because all the trail systems were taken out of that. But it was put in our sidewalk and trail system study that we just completed a couple years ago too. So that's a little bit of background for it. I don't know that any of this trail layout is anything new. All of it has been kind of in the plan to begin with, except for everything on that east side, which is an easy part to put in.
What's the overall schedule for construction of the wetland bank?
I believe it's going to start later, like right before winter this year. I think November is what we were told. Something like that. They like to build it in the winter when the water's gone.
There's a few steps to work out since it requires federal approval. An archaeologist will have to come out there and find or not find significant things, and we are working with the state archaeologists to do that. They are waiting for the ground to thaw, of course, so they can actually work out there. Then IMAG will have to do some work, so probably fall at the earliest. Yeah, fall would be very optimistic.
Yeah, this is something that we've had to run through the Corps of Engineers. We've had to get approval for it. It's taken about a year and a half to get to this point. So, and the biggest reason that we haven't been to you since is because we recently just are very close to acquiring some land to the north. That means the plan can sort of get fully flushed out now, basically.
The thing to potentially know about the trail, there is the immediate maintenance bench that is required for the wetland bank. IMAG will have to provide more specifics about. Our current standard is it goes all the way around because you want to be able to access every point you have to maintain. Whether that will be the entirety of the trail or just a portion of the trail, we don't necessarily know. The city side of it would be the portion that's not required by the maintenance bench. Ideally, if the city wanted something above and beyond the maintenance bench, it had to be a little larger or whatever. We'd want to coordinate that ahead of time. That way you don't build it, then you have to go back and change it. And so basically, I think what we're mostly looking for feedback is what are those things above a 10-foot wide maintenance bench that you all would like to see on the front end. That way it's not it's built, it's not quite what you want, then it has to go back and constantly be reworked to get it there. Try to do things right on the front end rather than constantly patching something.
So this question is for Tammy. Since it's already BMP, detention, whatever, does it require the maintenance bench around a current detention area?
Yes, with our engineering standards, we do require that maintenance bench to be all the way around every detention pond. So we've been working with council to kind of rehab a lot of our existing detention ponds, and we're adding that in with it. And then anything new that we're taking with developers, we require them to have that before they can dedicate it to the city. So if you don't do the wetland bank, just hypothetically, the city still has to come in and do a detention pond. We have to enlarge that with the new development going on. We will still be adding in a maintenance bench at some point.
Is there a specific layout that shows the current bench in the proposed wetland layout compared to what's being proposed for the trail? I guess Tim, while Tammy's looking that up, is there anything else you want to add to your intro? Okay. Any questions for Tim?
Just one, Tim. The area that looked to be under construction, that's the new elementary school? You know what that is?
Well, I believe so.
Okay,
I have no idea.
yeah, okay, thanks.
What's the surface that we're looking at it being then? You're talking about 10 feet wide. Would it be gravel, dirt, paved?
Or
It's
if
up to you. We see it being a natural trail, kind of mimic the bench that's already currently there. She's going to pull this up in a second. You can kind of see it there on the east side, right? Correct. And that is to service the sewer main that's back in there. Something like that. It's like I said, we sort of just said we would leave it up to the park committee to actually come up with what you want. But we see it more being, because there are stipulations in that initial donated land that you can't have playground equipment, you can't have this, you can't. So there's a bunch of things you can't have in there. So it basically leads it to be a trail.
So Tammy, you're saying as part of whether it's the wetland bank or just future detention that you're going to be putting in a maintenance bench on the west side as well? Okay.
You know, just along the backside of those cul-de-sacs. So the city has this area that comes off of Sunshine here. So that plan has always been to bring that trail back and around and up. The city owns a little strip back here too, to bring that trail system around and then connect it to that new school. So that's all shown on the development plans that were approved probably 20 years ago.
All right. Can you pull up the two trail options again? That was part of the package.
So this one is 2. This shows the whole loop system. So I'm saying this part is pretty much that safe routes to school. You know, maybe there is something more that it follows this way, so it didn't get so close, but then there's still a big gap in there. And then this section is already in. But you just have to extend it up to Redwood.
Then can you show option 1?
So I think the only difference here is it's just showing that connection across.
It doesn't show anything along the west side other than what leads to the school, right? That's what, yeah, that's what I was saying, yeah, yeah. All right. Does the committee have any more questions for Tim? Okay. Does the committee have any? Yeah. Yeah, you don't get to go free. Does the committee, before we start taking public inputs, the committee got any questions for Patrick or Tammy? Or comments?
There's no like fencing blocking those cul-de-sacs right now, correct?
I guess, Tim, I appreciate the foundation's willingness to work with the park board to get this set up. Honestly, from my perspective, I'm just feeling a little set up right now because the first time we saw these is when they arrived in our packet. And if indeed the park board is going to have some influence over how these are going to lay out, a little bit of a heads up would have been nice, so we could have formulated a plan as opposed to have all the public just show up and us hash this out in front of everybody. So, I mean, beyond that, obviously we're going to hear everybody's input, but I think there's a number of factors going on here that are really important to consider. From my point of view, we've been given two options which appear to be pretty flexible, but I'm kind of wondering how flexible are they really based on the maintenance bench and the requirements that you're going to have, right? So I think it's pretty easy. I'm not going to assume what everyone's here to talk about, but I'm assuming everyone's concerned about something being 5 feet away from their backyard, and they're not excited about it, which, you know, we completely understand. But I think the way the two options are laid out right now, it kind of gives the impression of, well, you can choose number one and nothing's going to be behind my backyard for the most part, which is not true if you end up having the benches, which is my point about having a bench map would be nice for the public to understand what is actually going to be behind their house.
Well, this is kind of just showing where that bench would be. You know, we want to dual purpose this. If we put in a bench somewhere, we want to also be able to use it for the trail system,
Sure.
not do a trail system and a bench.
Right. I completely agree. But my point is if you look at option one, it doesn't show a trail around a significant portion of the west side.
Yes, and I just wanted to make sure to point that out, that that has always been in the plan for this development. I mean, that is a city council decision on when they want to do that, but that was in the development plans. It's been talked about with Safe Routes to School with the school district, and we've also talked to the DOT already about applying for grants for that trail system, so.
I know this trail system for this development has been underway for a long time because it was a discussion when I was on council 15 years ago. Due to the Safe Routes to School initiative that came out. I would like to point out that we tried to get ahead of this with the developers. Yep. And this trail system proposal was laid out when the developers developed that area. Not that it was communicated to everybody, I'm sure it was not, but it was in the plans for a long time. And the reason we did that at the time was because there are parts of the city that the Safe Routes to School was not honored. And developers built houses in the way of the Safe Routes to School. So we have some trails that end up in somebody's front yard. We have trails that go nowhere because the Safe Routes to School initiative was not followed and was not developed at the time and worked with the developer. So I know that we did this development knowing that it was coming, knowing that the school was looking potentially at land out there 15 years ago. So like I said, I'm pretty sure it probably was not communicated to the neighbors and to the owners of those properties. But it is something that we strived as a council to put into place at the time so that we could get kids safely to and from school without having them on major byways.
And to add to that, it was set up very well in the development plans, and as everything was platted, all of those easements are in place, and the city owns the land or the strip of land behind it to finish it.
Anybody else have anything they want to say as an intro? All right, public, please step up.
Thanks. I'm Scott Doubledy. Diane and I live at 2816 East Augusta Circle, and we're here along with our neighbors. John was good enough to come out last year after the open house you had at the golf course, and he came out to our house and looked at what Carrie and the team had put together for a potential plan, and we told him our concerns at that time, and thus he knows firsthand, standing on our deck, standing on our patio, what we're looking at. And so our son sent this to us 2 nights ago on Facebook. We don't have Facebook. And that's when I became aware of what was going to happen at this meeting and talking to the neighbors just today. So I would love to be informed and be able to have input without Facebook as to what's going to happen here. Because I'll just say this, presented with these 2 plans, we'd like to respectfully ask you to choose the less invasive plan to the residents and choose option 1 if these are the options. Number 1 issue is, of course, privacy for us and our neighbors in the circles and along Sunshine. Option 2 would be invasive directly for many of us and really affect and negatively affect the enjoyment of our backyards. John can attest to that. Number 2, drainage. The wetland is doing its job for us now. We may get 2 or 3 feet onto the sod of our backyard of water. I teased Diane, we got lakefront property, our taxes are going to go up, but then it goes away. Even in the 10-inch rain, we did not have 1 drop of water in our sump pump the way it is now. The wetland is doing its job. And so obviously we don't want to see that change with a path or what happens. It's doing its job now. 3, wildlife. We currently have pheasants, deer, turkeys, other animals, lots of songbirds, and in the area west of the creek. They greatly add to the enjoyment of a lot of our properties, and it's one of the biggest reasons we moved to 2816, and I can show you what the developer showed us when we bought our lot, and there is no mention of a hiking or biking trail. Potentially a city park, but then it was a wetland, thus that would take some serious alterations and expensive. So, and if you all believe that the foot traffic and bicycle traffic is going to stay on this path, I challenge you to go up to the swimming pool and to Aspen Park and see wherever the kids, the worn paths are. It's not all on the trails. It's not on the streets. It's across landowners' property. And that's what'll happen here. And the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. I get it. But that is really going to change the enjoyment of us and our neighbors' properties if that comes to fruition, that there's a path between 5 and 10 foot from our back property line, which was the first plan that John and I looked at from the wetland engineers. So I would like to be informed on future meetings, either email or text, please, because we don't have Facebook and it's on purpose. We just have had fun all our lives without it and don't need it and don't like drama. That shows up regardless. But in summary, I would like the Development Foundation and the Park Board to please do the right thing and choose option 1 or something extremely similar for this new path, and to consider our thoughts, our feelings, and what affects us as residents of Brandon, South Dakota. Is there any questions for me?
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks
I
for your
appreciate
time.
it.
Thanks for coming out too, John.
Yeah, you bet.
Just, one thing, John.
Yeah.
So those two options that were provided from IMAG was done at our request, right? So they drew two different trail options. I had no idea that there was actually a maintenance thing required until 3 hours ago. So I had no idea that that even existed. Now, if it has to get built, whether we put a trail system or not, that's up to the city. That's not up to the Development Foundation. I mean, they can put a chain over it if they want and say this isn't where the trail is. I don't know. But that would be the city's thing. So as far as the trail goes, we can build whatever you want, essentially.
Thank you, Tim. So Patrick, as far as the process goes, when it comes to your stipulations for some of the funding that goes into place to build this, I'm assuming you've kind of met the criteria for the public meetings that you have to do?
So the Development Foundation is not a city organization. It is its own private 501c6 organization. So what brings the city involvement into it, of course, is a lot of this land is owned by the city. You just can't do something on your neighbor's property without their permission. So that's what brings the city into it. If the Development Foundation owned all of it itself, public meetings beyond what the Corps of Engineers would require wouldn't necessarily occur. The Development Foundation understands that they are a little bit different than just there's more a connection with the city because that's the way they want it to be. That's why they are trying to be transparent and put things out and hold public meetings, because no one wants to spend money on something nobody wants. So there's not a lot of publication requirements. What we received was basically put out as soon as we received it. Park Board meets once a month. There are certain deadlines to meet. I wish it would have came to us earlier so we could have sent it out earlier and given more notice, but we deal with the timelines we have. We don't necessarily want things to keep getting pushed back a month and a month and a month and a month. So as far as notices go, the Development Foundation really isn't obligated to provide any necessarily. It would be on the city end because it's the city land where the notices would occur.
Anybody have any additional thoughts or questions? I guess, is there anybody else that, please come on up? Yes, sorry, it gets recorded.
I would also, my name's Andrea, I live on 2829 Sunflower, and the 5 feet that has been discussed is very, very generous. For our backyard personally, it would bump right up to our property line. Along with, I do have a picture of our manhole that is in the corner, if you would like to see it. And I'm very confused how you would even fit that trail between our property and that manhole that exists right there.
So where you're located, that trail system would be back far enough on the city property.
Towards the manhole.
What part are you looking at?
Yes. So, as according to option 2, again, though the 5 feet would be very generous, it is not on the opposite side of the creek except for that area.
So when they do the wetland bank, they will have to rechannel a lot of that creek area, and they'll actually, what they do is they actually dig out a lot of it because it holds more water with a wetland. And so all of that will move.
Sure.
It'll be moved farther away.
Okay, which to me seems like a lot of extra money for something that we could, with option one, the whole goal is to connect our development to the school. We still would be able to provide that with option number one, without digging up the creek, the wetland, and being invasive to our properties.
The creek and the wet, let's back up to just the drainage. I appreciate Scott's comment about how you don't have any sump pump water and that sort of thing yet. But with the development going on in that area, there's going to be not necessarily more water, but that water is going to come to that area faster. So we have all the development that has opened up to the east as well, that we don't have development plans for yet. But this is our regional detention system. And on top of that, FEMA has also updated their flood risk maps, where we have 2 houses in there. They say 3, but we're working on a proposed solution for one of them. But we have 2 houses there that will have to get flood insurance now, until we do something with this area. So even without the wetland bank, we still need to provide more area for water. So that channel's not going to stay the way it is now. It will get moved, it will be wider, there'll be more of an area, more of kind of a pond-like type area, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Probably not yet. They are farther south than you.
Cause I would be amazed if it was our house.
No, it's,
Even the 10-incher, we ain't gonna drop on ourselves.
Yeah, us either. And I think too, like just a parent with kids and a trail, we love trails. We go to trails all the time. We go to Beaver Creek, we go to Big Sioux. Not every trail is a circle or a loop. And it's a connection. And so I just ask that you consider the connection versus the loop and the less invasive choice.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else would like to come up?
Andy Haas. I live at 2825 East 8 Brick Circle. You know, going back what Andrea said, and sorry, I don't remember your name. That trail will be right behind my house, 100%. You know what Tammy said about the wetland making the creek bigger? We own, or the city owns all that property to the east. Why would we have to encroach on the west side? Move that creek towards us, wherever. I'm 100% for the bike trail. 100%. I went through the wetland stuff for the job I did. So I know how the nightmare is to work with it. With the Corps of Engineers especially, I've done that. But option one's 100% better. I don't want people walking right behind my house. I have a tool shed back there. I do woodworking in there. And that would be right behind my tool shed. I got younger kids. I got 2 dogs. We love looking out the back, like he said, the wildlife. So why can't we just move that trail to the east side where there is no vacancy to our residents by any means? So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else? So I just want to say, you like quadrupled the normal amount of public that we have at our meetings. So very appreciative of you being here. And obviously I say that jokingly, but it's true. But you know, the decisions that we make are very much affected by the public when they come talk to us and the associations that we work with through a lot of our recreation stuff that we do. So we're very appreciative of you taking the time out of your days to come voice your opinions to us and your concerns. It's very important to us. On behalf of the committee, I'll say obviously overall trail-wise, as Mindy mentioned, the safe routes to school is very important to us. We've kind of stubbed our toes in the past 30 plus years of development here in Brandon, and we don't want to do that again, but we want to make sure that we're being as sensitive as we can be to all your concerns, just because of the timing of all this and how it's come together. So I guess from my perspective, it's pretty cut and dry which option I would support. Don't want to speak for anybody else on the committee. I'm not sure if you have any other things that you want to put out there at all here as part of our discussion. For sure. It is pretty deceiving, no doubt. And going out to see Scott and stuff was quite eye-opening for me when I did that a year and a half ago or whenever that was here. So
I was just gonna say, I completely understand everybody's points of view. I've been through different discussions on safe routes to school with different existing homeowners where part of the trails were implemented and part of them were not. Mr. W.Y., the developer provided you with that map that did not show, the city-owned property behind it, the potential of what was going to go on. We can only speculate as to why he did that, or she did that. But I would like a little bit more information on how the creek is going to be redone before I would commit to making a decision to one or two options. I just don't feel like I have enough information as far as where that creek and what the improvements to that drainage system is going to look like before I make a decision. I just don't think I'm well enough informed at this point to lean either way.
You don't have to. Not right this second. The design of the wetland bank is still being done, so we don't know yet. Right. All we're doing is presenting you two with two options. You can present us 3, 4, 5, and 6 if you want. We don't, right? Like we can overwhelm you with options if you want, or you can overwhelm us. That's fine.
Well, and
These
I
are
would like
two
to,
very easy options that we just presented to you right now.
Yep.
But this won't be built for another 9 months, 10 months. So
well, and I would like to thank the Development Foundation for even considering and granting us the project to begin with, because as everybody knows, our park funds are very limited. We don't have money for trails, even though we ask for it every year. It's just not there. So the fact that you guys are willing to come and partner with us and work with us to get any kind of a trail system done is very much appreciated.
is it yes, Scott?
Just another comment. I appreciate Tim, Patrick, informing us somewhat when Patrick explained the Development Foundation's independent and really doesn't have to. There's not a public requirement. But is it possible somehow to maybe if we get the cell phone numbers and the emails of the people that are here, and then we can start, and then so we can be informed and then voice respectfully our opinions in the development going forward? Because it's going to happen fairly quickly this year, it sounds. And I mean, a number of us were respectful at the open house at the golf course, and that's how we want to be. But I really like to be informed and have input, realize we have no decision-making ability, but would like to be a part of Brandon's future. And some of you have seen, I shouldn't bore you, but I'm a very proponent of paving Redwood and Chestnut to make our school safer for our kids. I've went to a lot of meetings and probably will go to more and do more because it's important, the safety, and to have that. But is there a way we can be informed so we can come show up and respectfully tell you or talk to you?
Sure. We are actually, if I remember correctly, going to have another public meeting golf course before we build anything. Is that correct? I think that's correct.
But I mean, we need to be respectful. Your jobs aren't
Yeah.
easy jobs
So-
either. We get it.
We're gonna have another public meeting at the golf course when we sort of get the designs to a point where they can actually be represented better. So before anything gets built, we would have another public meeting. The only reason this is happening now is because there was land that we were looking to acquire,
Right.
which we just did like 4 weeks ago. So we couldn't really present you a plan for land that we didn't own.
Oh, I get
So
it.
this seems fast, but it's not. It's been a process for like the last year and a half. So,
Well, and you should feel sorry for Diane and I, because when you're in Arizona for 30 days, this came up fast.
Okay, now you just need to
I'm
stop
teasing.
talking.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
It all went
I'm just
downhill.
kidding.
But I really, if
Yeah.
we could be informed, and we'll be respectful,
so what we did on the last public meeting is we treated it like a conditional use or variance hearing, and we mailed out flyers to everybody within 200-300 feet of the
Yep.
project. Obviously, the park board doesn't have that same policy in place like city council and planning and zoning does, so that's probably why you didn't get a letter about this. So,
but, and just so we know, so we can show up.
Yeah.
I mean, to me,
Hey,
That's
I
a
can
big
say
thing.
too, we have this meeting every third Wednesday, and the agenda is posted Monday before the meeting online, so it's on the website.
you should come to every park board meeting.
Yes, we would love
Every
to have
third
you.
I worked at a
You're bringing a
co-op.
lot of humor,
I
so.
worked at a
And then
co-op
go to
since,
P and Z after that. There's twice a month, and then council also meets on Mondays.
I worked
So
at a
knock
co-op
yourself
my
out.
whole career. I said to Diane, I'm not going to any more meetings, and here, where are we? And then I drug her with. Yes, but
Oh,
no,
I think, so to answer your question, yeah, please send around the list.
Okay.
Tim can take it. I know Tammy can make a copy of it as well.
okay.
I guess from my perspective, there's a couple pieces to this going on. I think one, I would guess everyone feels like if we were leaning towards an option right now, it would be option one. That just needs to be looked at more, maybe not. But I think the trail is one part, but the city also has some work to do as far as when the plans for the final design on the wetland bank get done, to be able to show out where those benches and stuff are gonna be and where the improvements are gonna be, like the drainage channel that you were talking about. Because from my perspective, it's one thing to look at a general map like this, but it really doesn't do the impact justice, right? And you're making a partially informed decision, which I would like to try to avoid. Because I think it's important for the public to know what's going to be occurring. Yeah, Tim.
Right. So another point is that if we chose not to develop this wetland bank, if we chose not to build a trail system, if we chose not to do anything, the city's still going to do it
And that's, yeah,
eventually.
and that's my point, right?
Yes.
Ultimately, it's kind of a two-pronger. The development foundation's one thing, but the city also has things that they're doing.
And one thing about it is if the Development Foundation does it and does a nice wetland bank that increases habitat and can add in a trail system, that's one thing that they can do. It's a whole nother thing to try to require a developer to do it. It will be a detention pond, just like we have all over town, where it probably doesn't hold much water except for when it rains, and we're lucky to mow it twice a year. So it's a very nice thing that Development Foundation can do for the city.
So, yeah, sorry. So by the time of our next meeting, you'd have more info for us, because I'm kind of like with Mindy, I don't have a whole lot of info here. Would we expect to see a
So
more
I
detailed
don't know.
plan?
Our engineer's not here, unfortunately. She would have a better idea. She's designing it based on what the Corps tells her she has to do. We haven't seen those final plans yet, or a final design yet. Whenever she presents them to us, then you'll get them as well. But I don't know when that's gonna be.
And yeah, with both of you, I would like a little more information. I liked Andrea's suggestion of taking a walk out there. I'd kind of like to see it in person as well. Okay. I also, I understand the concept, I think, of the maintenance bench, as an access, right? but, it is a term that's a little bit foreign to me. I'd kinda like to understand, what does that look like? What is it, you know?
Right, it's mostly just a gravel road. So if you go out there right now, you know where that lift station is? There is a little access off of Aspen, kind of where that speed sign blinks. If you take that little road, that's exactly what it looks like. You can drive, yep, you can drive all the way to the back, almost to the school.
That's 10 foot wide, right, Tammy?
At least, it's more than 10 foot.
Probably 12.
It's a nice road back there now.
Okay. Scott?
I'm also gonna make sure and go out there between now and the next meeting, but it is really important to have access to the school. And that's been the point of the city, so looking forward to seeing how that looks, cause it doesn't look like there's a lot there right now. Is there? I'll educate myself better there too.
There is no safe way for a child to walk from that development to that new school.
I just have one more thing. I want to show you the map that we were given. And you made a statement, Mindy, that the developer told us, should have told us that was city land. They did. They told us that was a potential future city park, but because it was a wetland, it likely would not, but that we did know. So we were not lied to about the city land. That's important to me because yes, there's no way you could know. But just so you know, that we were told, but not a hiking, biking. So you can call me a hypocrite and say I don't want anyone in the backyard, but we knew there could be a potential park, but that it was a wetland, so it was probably 99% not gonna happen. Okay?
Yeah, just go ahead. All right. I think ultimately we're not going to take any formal action. Sorry, is that on? No, it's not. So, do you want an official motion to defer this until there's more information? No?
Just
Okay.
informational
All
purposes.
right. All right. My recommendation personally to the Development Foundation would be once you get your plan set to kind of sit down and have your engineer work with Tammy and do an exhibit that clearly shows what the maintenance bench layout's
Yep.
going to be, right? Just
We've been
so
doing that the
that's-
whole time.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just we haven't been in here. I told you, first time in 20 years I've been here. But we've been doing that the whole time.
All right.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that any differentiation between the trail and the maintenance bench potentially is there as well. So, is there any other comments from the committee? All right, so stay tuned. We'll keep working through this, but nothing's gonna officially happen until there's more meetings about it. And certainly just know that we'll be looking out for your concerns as well and making sure that we try to get them addressed as good as we could. Myself personally, I'll be pushing towards option one just because of the concerns, but even with option ones, there's still some connections into the street right away and stuff that does occur adjacent to some homes, so there's still going to be some trail impact. And figuring out the details of what that is going to look like will be really important. So. Anything else from anyone? Okay, all right. So it's not rude to leave. If you don't want to hang out and listen to some of our other stuff, it's okay. with that, we're gonna move on to the Brandon Tennis Association and, some of the updates that they wanna do.
Hello. So we're just in the process of starting I'm AJ Menden. I'm the executive director of the Brandon Tennis Association. And we're kind of a rough partnership with the school, us, and the city with our current 8 courts by the middle school. And we are in the process of wanting to expand to 12. So we can have more for the community to have when our teams are playing, all that, because right now with 8 courts, when our teams are playing or we have a tournament, they're all taken. And then also for us, for tournaments, if we have 12, we can kind of bring in kind of bigger tournaments, potentially. So we already have the partnership, but I'm kind of sealing it because I was told there's a federal grant with the wetland. If we're partnered with parks, we can apply for, and they'll pay for up to half of what the whole total cost is. So I'm not asking any money per se from the city, just whatever we get from this grant would come to us, but it kind of goes through the park. We would have to be partnered with the parks to get this grant, is what I was told by the USTA.
Well, I'm assuming that you've got a couple different court amount options in there. I'm assuming some of that will be driven by.
Yep. So we kind of talked to the coaches, and we're going with Gil Hagen. And there was one option that kind of everyone stood out was the best. I'm still trying to lock down Dr. Larson to give me the fish okay, but Bill Frecking said he was willing to cut down their practice football field by a few yards to add the 4. But the picture I sent in here in the packet, I saw it earlier. It was right before the trails.
Yeah, it's in there.
So that's how it currently is.
Tammy just can't get to it.
All right. So that's the current. And the next one is what we kind of nailed in is the best for what the coaches and would like. And when we're all said and done, the current courts 1 and 2 would be shifted down. So there's a walkway in between. And then those 4 would be to the left will also be redone. And there will be a walkway in between those, but those are currently crumbling and need to be redone. But we first want to add the 4, so we have 12, and always have 8 in working order before we move to others. But, before we move forward, yes, the school would have to officially lock down that we can have it. But Bill said he was willing to give up a few yards of the football field for us to put those 4 in there.
Any questions for AJ?
So are you gonna dome it?
What?
Put it under a dome, so you
You gonna put a roof over
can
it?
roof over it?
Ideally, down the road would be if we could build a indoor one somewhere else, but yeah.
Well, I think it's really exciting, to be able to see this. So anything, I guess, from my perspective, anything that we can do as a committee to help you get that grant, please let us know. But
Yeah, I think there's stuff, looking through that, we will have to work closely with the park and the city to get information and all that, so.
Adam's not allowed to speak on this topic.
No.
so-
AJ, did I read correctly too that, I know obviously with the new courts, you're gonna have to add lights, but was there also a plan to like change some of the lights as well?
Oh, yes, so with the new technology now, I know there's been complaining about how tall these lights are and the neighbors. With the new, once we're all done, the lights are actually on the fence line and light up just the tennis court, and it doesn't have as much light interference with so we would be using those lights also.
Would public have access to those lights? Like
Yes, we would
anybody
have
could
a
just turn
button for them to turn it on, and just like we have, but it's just instead of the big giant towering ones, they would be LED shining just on the courts. So it can be used more often.
So on the paperwork, I saw something about like a $10,000 ask. Do we need to?
I just put that down. You don't need to commit to anything. It was basically, I didn't know how to fill that out. It just,
Okay.
to make it official, we had to fill out that I'm requesting technically money from you, but I'm not. It's whatever the grant will give is what I'll be requesting, and they say up to half of what our full budget is, which is anywhere, they told me 630,000 to 2.2 million, so.
I just asked because we want to talk about that, put it in our budget. If there is an ask and we want to set that money aside for the 2027 budget, we want to know that amount so that we can potentially factor that into the budget. So that's why I was asking.
Yeah, so, like I said, I'm not asking anything from out of your budget. It would be whatever this grant brings in would be what I'm asking for. If that helps.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, and then and then it would be shown on like our donor board that the city donated this money, but it's whatever it's coming from.
Via the
It's
grant,
yeah,
right.
via the grant. So I just would, one, ask that you guys are all right with us partnering, and two, whatever, I don't know who I need to talk to when I'm filling out the paperwork to get all the information I possibly need for, I think it's a lot of financial stuff and all that kind of stuff. If I was going through that long paperwork.
Yeah.
Tammy?
Oh, the finance officer, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can
So
reach out.
can I have a motion to support the tennis association's grant application?
Motion to support the tennis association grant application.
Any further discussion? We can let, we can do a name roll call just so it can be officially, all right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, all right. And yeah, just keep working with Devin. He'll hook you up with the city finance director to help you with the details of getting the application filled out. And if there's anything that we need to do to kind of support you, just feel free to reach out.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to ask or comment on, I guess, just that currently with the current tennis courts there, we do have a partnership with the school where we share costs on maintenance, big ticket items, things like that. So if the school is planning to also pay for some of it, I don't know if that would also by default mean that we are then also paying for some of it, even though the grant is, you know what I mean? So just, but we should still talk
Sure.
about it, and as soon as you know more things, then we can work on it with our budget and our CIP and things like that.
Right now, I told the school they're off the hook of having to pay. We will be fundraising for all this, so we just need them to turn over their land to us. Is basically the only agreement with per se.
Was just the ongoing operations of it. So, you know, I think once the final budget is determined and what improvements are gonna be done for sure, Devin, we can talk about that. Yeah. So, all right. Thank you, EJ. And thanks for hanging in there. All right. Now we'll move on to the special event application for Brandon's Big Celebration. Anybody here to talk about that? Oh, sorry. So it'd be alcoholic beverage consumption. Zach? Zach here? No? Any background on this, Devin?
No, I don't, but I would have no problems with this one, so, and you guys have to approve it, and it would go to council still anyway, so.
Did anybody have any comments off of what was in the packet? Can I have
No,
a
I
motion
didn't.
then?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We'll let Adam have that one. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, all right. Next one's a special event application. Brandon's Big Celebration. Any setup you want to do for that, Devin?
No, it looks about the same as last year with the layout and everything, and we've had no issues with anything that's done lately, so I also would have no issues with passing this one.
Anybody want to speak on this one?
Just if I could ask a quick question. It looks like it runs 3 days, right, Devin? And then the earlier dates that are on the application, is that set up in preparation? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, they typically show up the weekend before, because they're kind of ferrying vehicles and equipment from down south somewhere. So it takes them a handful of days to get all their stuff here, and then they start officially setting up on that Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. However, they are gone in the middle of the night when they're done.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the request for the fair during Memorial Day weekend and prep before.
All right, thanks, Lee.
Second.
All right, motion is second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Item number 10 on the agenda is generically named soccer.
Yeah, I don't really have anything for this. I didn't know if anyone from soccer would come. I've been talking to both groups. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Okay, do you have anything to? Right, no, I just wanted to keep it on there just in case somebody had something. So, been communicating with both groups, Bassa and Ambush, a lot. They're getting it worked out. There's still some stuff to work out and go through, but I think we're getting there. They're getting there. So I just wanted to keep you guys in the loop that it is still moving forward. Stuff's happening. We don't have an MOU or anything with Ambush. I know Brian is working on it, but it's a little tricky with a private business doing that. So that's really the only update I have.
Is there anything that you'd like to say about those coordination or working with Ambush? Or because when this came on our agenda last month, there wasn't anybody here from Brandon Area Soccer, so we were just talking to an Ambush rep as all. Obviously, we have our existing use agreement in place with Brandon Area Soccer, so we wanted to be very sensitive to that fact, right, and make sure that anything that Ambush might be doing privately doesn't infringe on that. And so we were pushing hard to make sure that they were in communication with everybody. Did you want to say something? No. So I suspect that it'll continue to be on the agenda until there's some sort of resolution.
It's close. That's all I'll say.
I mean, I really feel like you have to come say something because you sat through all of that.
My name is Josh Paula. I'm a failed soccer player, current coach, parent, and recent board member for Bassa. So getting my feet wet, I have seen some of the dialogue correspondence with Devin and the group, right? So I'm getting my feet wet on some of the history with Ambush as a new member here. You're exactly right. I think we're close to an agreement on the practice. There, we were tight on space, I would say, even leading up to a split of the organization, right? So it's not the easiest to just, fit another group with multiple other teams into the same kind of days that we have traditionally used. At the same time, each group is trying to grow, each trying to develop our rec program, which are the little guys, do the travel teams, et cetera, do supplemental coaching, training, do supplemental team training, all that kind of stuff factors in. So even if there are, maybe an empty field one day, there might not be another day. So plotting that out has been a little bit challenging. I think what would be interesting from my perspective, and maybe you've had some of these conversations with Dustin as well, we are two distinct organizations. We are competing organizations at this point, essentially, right? So practicing at the same time, not always ideal from my perspective, right? And the fields aren't super far apart, as you know. Question from my perspective, I don't mean to speak for you either, Kristen, is Pioneer an option for them for a bigger field to have some separation outside of McCarty? And maybe you've talked about that with Dustin. I don't mean to rehash all of that here. you know, and maybe there's things that BASA could do to support that or help that and provide some separation between these two groups that are, again, trying to kind of doing different things with the families of Brandon, right? We want to partner, we want to cooperate. At the end of the day, we're all serving the kids of Brandon. We want soccer to grow here. That's the mission. But we are distinct and I would say competing organizations at this time. So some separation, I think, either in terms of time or logistics makes some sense if we can make that fly, right? So there's been too much back and forth. I'll give you that. You know it. And I hate to throw the city right in the middle of that. I mean, that's no fun for anybody, right? But there are some dynamics that we want to figure out and make sure that each group is set up on the right path. Anything else that you would add to that, Kristen? Or any follow-up to what I just rambled on about?
Well, that's one I was going to say. That's why Devin gets hazard pay. So,
Yeah.
oh no, you should see what Brian wanted to pay you before. We appreciate your willingness to try to coexist, right? For all the reasons that you mentioned. I think from our perspective, Pioneer is totally on the board for use. So with that, go ahead.
No, everybody has been encouraged to use Pioneer. We spent a lot of money last year on irrigation, seeding. The grass is coming in well. We're going to overseed again this spring. It'll have a full year with irrigation. Yes, there seems to be some reluctance to do activities at Pioneer. I know Ambush has agreed to do Thursdays there, like I think totally, but they're still hashing out some of the other days. But I would encourage every group to utilize Pioneer because it will be. I know it's been really bad in the past. It's much, much better and will continue to get so.
I appreciate that very much. And I think this is a question you don't even have to respond. Is there a difference in how private versus nonprofit is treated? I don't know. We don't have to answer that or get into that here. I think from a curiosity perspective, that would be interesting, right? And then how does the MOU play into all of this with McCarty, right? And I know you've been very helpful in saying Ambush has to go through us and work through us, right? I think that's kind of the driving force there. And if that's the guidance, then we'll go with that, right? Curious from your all's perspective too, and again, don't mean to rehash what has been rehashed in other meetings. Is there a distinction in other city events between some of these offshoots that may occur in baseball or whatever else? It's kind of new to me and some of us in our group, right?
No, it's actually, which we talked about last month, it's becoming more of an issue with there are more private teams. Now, this is the first private organization we're dealing with. In baseball, softball have private teams that are separating, but that's just one individual team. So that's not, and they're just volunteers with their kids. They're not a business. The MOU is clearly with BASA, and I did send out an email this morning to basically the two Dustin and Garrett and Becky, and who's the president of BASA now? Jake, sorry. Yes. Basically just kind of laying everything on the line. Like, we do have the MOU with BASA. The MOU does call out that BASA will schedule and coordinate activities with other approved users. Ambush was an approved user at last month's meeting. So BASA must or will coordinate with them. However, that doesn't mean that BASA has to give up anything. BASA needs to schedule their activities, their programs, or things like that. And then what is left is what is available for Ambush. And I hope and would expect everyone to just maintain a open line of communication, because you guys know how with weather and things like that, schedules change frequently and quickly. And that's kind of what I put out in the email. So I'm hoping, and I'm still fine to play in the middle to a certain point, but our busy season is also coming up, and I will have less time to do that. So hopefully they can they're making progress every day, it seems like, so hopefully soon enough they will just be playing soccer, and maybe all this will get kind of forgotten for now. But big story, it is something that I think we do need to start to talk about for future meetings, how to deal with some of these private things, and we discussed that before too.
Yeah, I think from our perspective and what was said in the last meeting, our agreement and MOU because BASA was our partner in helping getting those fields developed and continuing to do improvement. So from that perspective, you're king of the road, right? But since Ambush is doing things to benefit the kids of Brandon, we wanted to make sure we were working with them within the limits of what we could. You're going to help establish those guidelines. And, it's not like Sioux Falls as an example. There's plenty of private club teams that use city facilities, but they're kind of just when they're open, right? We're a small enough community that we can coordinate that a little bit better than just a general free-for-all, which we want to try to avoid too, because if there is wear and tear on the fields and someone's playing at a baton that isn't appropriate and it's not BASA, we want to make sure that we understand who that is and kind of what the agreement is. So, if that helps.
Understood. Makes good sense. Well, thank you for the help with Pioneer. I know that's going to be a boon for both groups in the city in general. I hope we can make that work. And again, provide maybe a little bit of separation and that things just flow from there. So appreciate the time up here. Anything else that you'd like to ramble on about? Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Krista Gaber with BASA. I know one thing we've been talking about, and I don't know if you're able to give some insight, but currently the way the MOU reads, BASA is responsible for ensuring the property, indemnifying the city, and, we're in charge of the activities and allowing, the use of things. So how do you reconcile like an independent program coming in to use the facility we have the MOU with, that BASA has no control over or regulation with that programming?
Right. So, we obviously Ambush is its own private thing, so they're free of your MOU, right? And that's what Brian and the city is trying to figure out right now, is if something were to happen with them, what the understanding is. So I don't think we don't have the answer for that. That's for smarter people than us to figure out. But
Just to throw out there, so Ambush did get us, they do have their own liability insurance, and they did get us a copy of that, so they are insured as well.
And then are they also paying the city, because we pay for that MOU? So like if they're using the same facilities that we're maintaining and paying for, how does that?
We are still working on that one. Because they're a private business, we don't have, I shouldn't say we don't have, we do have one. We're working on that. I don't have all the answers for the MOU with the private business right now.
So, but in our meeting last month, we did talk about payment for use of facilities. So we didn't land on anything.
To the city or to BASA?
We didn't even get into that detail.
Okay.
So we just talked about payment just because of what you just said, right? As far as the investments that you've made and the investment that you make in the MOU. So we didn't think it was fair to just have a private team come in and get to use it all without making a payment themselves. So.
And then I know like there's been historically through BASA other associations or teams that have come to us and asked for usage, and we have, addressed that accordingly. We were never approached by Ambush, so we didn't even know this was happening last week. So we were very kind of behind the ball with that. Is there a way where we can, I don't know, be on the same page for how that's supposed to work? Because some associations programming come direct to us, but we know there was a reason why Ambush didn't, and so it's harder to stay consistent with everything, and it's our reputation too.
Well, our understanding was, and maybe it wasn't thorough through BASA, but our understanding is that there had been communications occurring between Ambush and BASA. So
there was no communication since that meeting, and it's been kind of coordinated with Devin, but we were never asked or approached by anybody with Ambush. I think there was one conversation I was not a part of where it was said that Dustin was now the facilities person for BASA, so requests can go through him. And no request, nothing was ever made. And then we just kind of found out, now we had this approved user we were dealing with, right?
So, sorry, that clearly wasn't what we were presented with when we were talking, so.
Yeah, I guess to the best of my knowledge, I do believe Dustin and Jake knew about Ambush, and wanting to use the facilities. And then for last month's meeting, Ambush had reached out to me and wanted to know if they could come and just talk to Park Board about their program. So I told them, yes, everyone's welcome to come. I did not think to invite BASA. I guess that's my fault. They made it sound like they just want to talk about their program and not competing with BASA for things. That's kind of how that ended up, I guess.
So I guess the good part about that is everybody's on the communication train now. Hopefully we can come to an agreement that's acceptable for everybody. But again, from our perspective, when it comes to use of that, BAS is in the driver's seat, right? And what you guys don't want to have happen, it's hard for us to support otherwise. So,
Thank you.
thank you. All right. And I'm just going to say, just because misery loves company, I've lost so many hours sitting in public meetings waiting for my agenda item to come up that I appreciate you guys hanging in there. So, yeah, thanks. All right. Item number 11 is bike path shared use update.
I figured the wetland one was probably enough for this meeting.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Tammy. Quickest agenda item. That brings up number 12, tree board. Any updates, Devin?
Nope, ash tree removals are ongoing right now. That's it.
All right. Sir, is there anything you wanted to say? You just been hanging out? Okay. I'm listening, taking it all in. Okay, all right. Yeah, please.
Tammy, since we are now working with this wetlands thing area, has the developer for the properties to that east of the school and behind Bethany, do we have a trail system set up through there? Okay. Okay. Okay, just so that we keep it on the radar. I don't want any new developments going in without, having the easements and that kind of thing on new developments, so. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Right. Yes, so thank you for that.
Thank you, Mindy. Any other comments at all? Discussion points? All right, that brings up our next meeting of April 15th, 5:15. Tim, I'm expecting to see you.
We're just so much fun, aren't we? We do have fun.
So if you come towards latter summer and fall, there's more tree board items. So it's timing. All right. Can I have a motion for adjournment, please? Is there a second? All in favor? Okay.